All right, I'm back, friends, and hopefully Mrs. Grosby's head isn't cut off like her science video, but don't let the whiteboard fool you. I wanted to talk about some of the math things that you have been learning at home and a little bit of the last things we learned before you went home for your spring break. I have my whiteboard here because I wanted to talk about dimensions. We've heard different ways to talk about shapes. You've had flat shapes and solid shapes, flat shapes and solid shapes. The flat shapes that we looked at before we left, I have them all here. We have this flat shape with a curved line, the circle. A flat shape with 4 equal lines and 4 vertices, the square. We have a flat shape with 3 lines and 3 vertices, 3 sides and 3 vertices, the triangle. Another shape that has 4 sides and 4 vertices, but only has 2 sides that are the same, and then the other 2 are its own pair, a rectangle. Then we had this fun shape that always reminds me of honeybees, the hexagon. And it has not 4, not 3, but 6 sides and 6 vertices where the sides meet. Those are the flat shapes that we talked about. Then we had solid shapes. We're going to go into solid shapes together very soon. But we also call these shapes by a different name. A math word that I'd like us to see is dimensions. So that's D, I, M, E, N, sh. That's a new spelling rule. Dimension. A dimension is one way of measuring something. So if I drew a line, there's only one way to measure it. This way, 1 dimension. But if I drew a square, now my lines are being used as sides to move in different directions. So I have dimensions this way, 1 dimension this way, but I also have another dimension going up and down. So a dimension side to side, dimension up and down. How many dimensions is that? 2 dimensions. So when we see a flat shape, you can measure this by length and by height. Dimension 1, dimension 2. How about this shape? Same thing. 1 dimension, 2 dimensions. 1 dimension, 2 dimension. In math or in geometry, they like to call these 2-dimensional shapes because they have 2 dimensions to measure. Sideways, length, and up and down, height. 2-dimensional shapes. But 2D, we don't stop there. We have 3D coming up next. So let me put aside my board and marker and bring my tub of 3D shapes. So instead of just 2D, now I have 3D. I don't have a flat shape anymore. I have 3D that can measure sideways, length. I can measure up and down, but there's also parts of the shape that go front and back or wide, width. So I have 3 dimensions in this shape. Instead of saying we have a curved line, we have a round surface because it's round all around. 3D shapes, 3 dimensions. 1, 2, 3. I have all of these here with me today. These 3 dimensions, you notice some of them don't like to stay still. Some of them like to stack. some of them cannot stack. Now that is something that we did not see with our two-dimensional shapes. Two-dimensional shapes are what? They're flat. So I can't roll this one just like our three-dimensional shape here. And I can't stack them. That's not going to go very well. They lie flat on the two dimensions. So when I have my three-dimensional shapes here, we are going to discover how to talk about them. This one can roll. We said that before. Can this roll? Not very well. It is not a rolling shape. Can this roll? Not like that maybe, but what if I found a place where it can roll using its round surface. And this one doesn't roll this way. We find the surface that's round, and that makes it a rolling shape. Then we have stack. We tried to stack our two-dimensional shapes, and that did not work out. What are some three-dimensional shapes you can find at home that can stack? These can. Oh, well, that's not stacking very well. I need to use the flat surface for that. So these can stack. I know you can find rolling objects in your home too. We'll put this guy aside. Roll, stack, how about slide? Instead of rolling, these shapes, these three-dimensional shapes with flat surfaces, slide. So collect some three-dimensional shapes at your home and tell me how you would describe it. This is a stacking shape. This is a rolling shape. This shape can stack and roll. This shape can roll and slide. Go ahead and experiment with that. You'll have worksheets too that will describe later so that you know which parts to circle or to color. But I want you to spend some time exploring your three-dimensional shapes too. Can you find both two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes? Happy exploring, my friends. I'll see you soon. I hope you had a good time exploring and finding 3D and 2D shapes. Here is the first page of your next chapter, chapter 10, three-dimensional shapes. But before we explore those, if I turn this page over, we have our Show What You Know page. And I'd like everybody to try this, Kinder and TK. Show what you know. You spent a really long time looking at 2D shapes. Some of you already played with flat shapes at home so many times. Here we have a collection of flat shapes. Please use red to color the squares. Okay, remember squares have their own rules about how many sides, what those sides look like, and how many vertices they have. Use red to find those squares. Hunt them down. Then please use blue to color the triangles. Blue to color the triangles. How many sides does a triangle have? How many vertices? Now, that's all I want you to touch. Squares and triangles. You might see other shapes there, but please leave them hidden. We do not need to hunt them today. On number 2, our sun, I have a shape here that's green. How many sides do you see and how many vertices? How many sides do you see in this blue shape and how many vertices? And here in our sorting mat area, please put an X on the shapes with 3 sides. Find those shapes that have 3 sides and mark an X. After that, you'll be able to enjoy this picture here. And there are lots of 2D shapes all over this picture. Mark an X on food shaped like a circle. Oh, I see it with my eyes. I know you can too. So mark the food shaped like a circle. Then draw a line under the food shaped like a square. Find the food that's shaped like a square and put a line underneath. When you find the food shaped like a triangle, circle it. So, X on the food that's a circle, line under the food that's a square, and circle the food shaped like a triangle. All right? After that, my dear friends, is there a back to this? There is! Here's a fun game that you can play with siblings or with parents. It's a maze of shapes. And you get to pick which shape you'd like your maze to go. If you want a triangle maze, pick the triangle. Square maze, circle maze, rectangle maze. Follow the shapes. After you choose your shape, follow the road and only cross where your shape is. So if I follow the circle, I can't go this way, that way, or that way. I need to follow the road that will lead me to touch only circles. Same with squares, same with rectangles, and same with triangles. See if you can complete all shape mazes. That'll be a fun challenge. Your last, it's 2 more pages, my dear friends. We have a sorting mat here. Now, for this sorting mat, I would like you to use the shapes that you discovered at home. Some of you, for example, I have one here, a 3-dimensional shape that rolls and stacks. So, our words say, does stack, does not stack. Where will this shape go? It does stack. So I'm going to put it on that side. Before we used to draw on these columns. Now, we haven't had any practice drawing our 3D shapes just yet. So if you'd like to start that at home, I can show you a short way to draw a 3D shape, or you can just stack them. So 3D shapes, when you are drawing them, let me go ahead and move this here. You have to show that they are not flat. For example, we have this flat shape right over here. That flat shape is a circle. To make it 3-dimensional, you have to show that it's round. You have to show the round surface. So you draw the curves. You draw the curves on the 3D shape. Does everyone see that? Then you have this flat shape. Excuse me, Ms. Grosby's pencil is going out of control. We have this 2D shape, flat, square. This one might be a bit challenging, but keep practicing and you can do a great one. You'll need to do 2 squares that touch in the corner. Does everyone see that? After that, you can draw the lines to show it is not a flat shape. It is not a flat shape. It goes side to side, up and down, and front to back. All right, here's another one. Remember, drawing those lines shows that you have a curved surface. 3D shapes show that they are curved and not flat. So those lines help you out a lot. And then lastly, you had your rectangle as your last, or one of your 2D shapes. To make that a 3D shape, we notice that the stacking surface is round. And then we connect the walls of that shape. And then you can also put lines to show the curves of that shape also. Okay? So if you'd like to challenge yourself, brain stretch a little bit, you may draw the 3D shapes that you'd like to keep the memory in does it stack or it does not stack. It rolls around like crazy. Or you can use the shapes that you have collected and just show that where it would go on the column. When you flip this over, you have another area to sort. Which ones roll, which ones roll and stack, and which ones stack. You can practice your drawings there. And for Kinder, here is your last page, a search and find. So here, roll. And they give you 3 shapes, three-dimensional shapes to choose from. Which of these shapes does not roll? Okay, which of these shapes does not roll? Find it, put an X. Which of these shapes does not stack? One of these shapes does not stack at all. Which shape does not slide? And which shape does not stack and slide on this bottom line? Okay, when I turn this one over, solve the riddle. I am a 3-dimensional shape that rolls, but I do not stack. Oh, snack, Mrs. Grosby and baby Grosby must be getting hungry. I am a shape that rolls and does not stack. So which shape do you think would be hard to stack? And on number 2, what is a real object that you found at home or that you can think of in your mind that rolls around and never stacks? Okay, Kinder, those were your pages. Please be patient while I go over TK's. We'll keep everybody in the same video. TK's, if you look over here, that looks familiar. That looks like our Kinder sheet that we saw. A rolling shape. So which one does not roll? Stack, which one does not stack? Slide, which one does not slide? And stack and slide, which one won't do any of that? When you turn it around, we want to make sure our brains don't forget any numbers and we sweep away the cobwebs. Which shape does not roll? I'll go ahead and put this behind so that there's no see-through. Which shape does not roll? On the bottom here, or in the middle, which set of numbers is in the right order? Some of these we don't count like that, so find the one that's in the right order. Here on number 3, do we have 3D shapes or 2D shapes here? Do we have solid shapes or flat shapes? Oh, I hope you said flat. These are all very flat shapes. Which shape has a curve? Oh, that was easy peasy. So please, TKs, go ahead and you can print out this paper or you can even screenshot it on your devices and draw on it in the iPad or phone or with a computer mouse, whichever you're using. Thank you, friends. That's math.